You think Bluetooth is just a feature that connects your gadgets? That's the smallest part of the story. It has a past, a personality, and a reason for its name. Bluetooth sounds more like a dental problem than a legendary technology, right? Today, instead of me explaining it, I'm letting Bluetooth tell you its own story. Because some stories aren't meant to be explained, they're meant to be remembered. Take it away.
Hello, I'm Bluetooth. You use me every day, but you rarely notice me. And honestly, that's kind of the point. Let me take you back to a time when technology was smart and terrible at talking.
Back in the 1990s, gadgets were getting smarter every year, but using them often felt like a headache. You'd buy something new, take it home, and it just wouldn't get along with the stuff you already had.
You'd grumble, shake your head, and wonder if you'd been scammed. Meanwhile, the engineers behind the scenes were just as stressed. Every time a device refused to connect, they had to listen to words we aren't allowed to repeat, and somehow they still had to figure it out. So they asked a simple but bold question. What if devices could sort themselves out, quietly, without bothering anyone? And that little idea, that's where my story begins. Even the companies that usually fought over every tiny detail, Intel, Ericsson, Nokia, could feel the tension. So they did something rare in tech. They agreed on a shared standard, one way for short-range devices to talk, no matter who made them. And that decision mattered more than any single invention. Finally, devices could actually get along. So they started experimenting. They needed a signal that could travel a short distance without draining batteries. Wi-Fi was greedy, infrared was fussy, you had to point it just right, and cables, well, cables were a nightmare nobody wanted. They tried different ideas, tested every option, and figured out a clever way to make it work. They landed on radio waves, already invisible and buzzing around us all the time. With a little creativeness, devices could quietly announce themselves to each other, like neighbors waving across the street, without yelling or wasting energy. Once a device recognized another, they had to agree on the rules of the conversation. How fast to talk, how often to send signals, when to pause, everything gets sorted automatically. It's kind of impressive, honestly, because it makes something complicated feel invisible. That's the whole trick. I'm only noticed when I fail. Otherwise, I'm just seamless. And that's basically how I was born. In a world full of gadgets, suddenly everything just talked, quietly, efficiently, and without bothering anyone. Once I existed, the engineers faced a new challenge, a name. At first, they wanted a code name, temporary, while they figured things out. Then they found inspiration in someone who had solved a similar problem 1,000 years ago. His name was Harold, a Viking king of Denmark. He was famous for uniting tribes that didn't trust each other and couldn't communicate. Different languages, different beliefs, different identities. Somehow he made them talk. Harold even had a nickname, Bluetooth. It came from a tooth that had darkened over time, bluish in color. Not glamorous, but memorable. When the engineers realized the similarity, they made Bluetooth the final name. And the logo? Not random either. It's made from two Viking runes, the initials of Harold Bluetooth, H and B. Every time you turn Bluetooth on, you're basically activating a bit of Viking history. You're basically summoning a king just to connect your headphones. Now comes the question how I stayed so long even though the technology is changing so fast. The thing is, I didn't survive by being exciting. I survived by being reliable. When your call slips from your phone into your car without breaking your sentence, that's me stepping out of the way. When your headphones wake up before you even remember turning them on, that's me doing my favorite thing, disappearing. Good technology doesn't ask for attention. It earns trust and then stays quiet. That's why you stopped thinking about me. And that's why I stayed. And now you'll probably be asking, will I last forever? Probably not. Nothing in technology does. But the idea behind me will outlive my name. People don't enjoy thinking about connections. They expect things to meet, understand each other, and move on. As long as that expectation exists, something built on the same principle will always be around. Maybe it won't be called Bluetooth, but it will behave exactly like me.
And that's the part that sticks. The most powerful technologies aren't the ones we admire. They're the ones we forget to question. This is Whysdomia, where ordinary things get the stories they deserve. If this made you look twice at something you use every day, subscribe and stay curious. Because once you start asking why, the world gets a lot more interesting.